I could hear the squeak of the sneakers and thump of the balls before I had even reached the gymnasium. In spite of my doubts, a thrill rippled through me, and I couldn't help grinning. No matter what else happened, I felt like I belonged here, more than any place on earth. Coach Mike blew the whistle. "Let's warm up!" For the first time in days, I forgot about Yipo, Sloan, and messed up birthday parties. Coach Mike worked us like dogs. "Come on. You have another set of sit-ups after these push-ups," he said cheerfully, twirling his lanyard around his finger. "You guys have got to get in shape." After warm-ups, we ran drills, passing drills, shooting drills, dribbling drills. It seemed like Coach Mike had spent all summer learning about 100 new drills to run us through. I felt like my arms were about to fall off during a free throw drill when Coach Mike walked by. "Nice free throw technique, Lucy. I can see someone has been working this summer," he bellowed loud enough for the whole team to hear. That gave me a burst of energy, though not enough for the last drill of the day. At that point, we were all panting and sweating. Half of the girls were doubled over, and the other half were gulping down water. Coach Mike looked at us and rubbed his hands together. "Now for everyone's favorite, suicides, let's go." They're not called suicides because they're pleasant. You start on one end of the court and you run up to the near free throw line and back. Then you run to the half court and back, the far free throw line and back, and then the far end of the court and back. You don't jog during suicides. You run like a maniac, but with enough control that you stop and turn when you're supposed to. The team groaned, but Coach Mike rolled his eyes. "1 if you're fast, 2 if you're slow," he announced. "I can't believe he's making us do this," I whispered to Madison. "I'm dying." Madison grinned. "Yeah, but it beats missing basketball completely, doesn't it?" And then, in case I'd forgotten, she added, "And now you'll totally be prepared to take down Sloan." Coach Mike blew the whistle to start, and I took off running for the first throw line. What I wanted to do, though, was run through the doors out of the school and far away, far, far away. As soon as practice was over, Mom was outside waiting in the car. Mom shook her head when she saw me. "I can't believe you're going to Chinese school like this. What will your teacher say?" she lectured as I got in the car. Of course she's not interested in how practice went. I leaned over and looked at her in the rearview mirror. I had to admit that I was not about to make the world's best first impression. My face was bright red, and my hair was straggly with sweat. I also wore an old t-shirt that boasted 2 holes and a faded brown spot from a bad encounter with some barbecue sauce. I started fixing my ponytail, then gave up. There was no point. "I'm going, right?" I said. "I don't want to go, but I'm going." Mom looked at me in the rearview mirror. "That's enough, Lucy. I thought about getting to play basketball would take away some of this attitude." As if. I wanted to tell her that getting to play basketball while still going to Chinese school was like getting a brand new car that you only get to drive to work on Saturdays. "I think this is the right street," she said, more to herself than to me as she turned right. Forest Hills High School loomed into view, and from the looks of it, every Chinese family in a 50-mile radius was there. They were all heading into the main set of doors. Mom pulled up to the curb. "Hop out. The parking here is a nightmare. I'll catch up with you after I park." Suddenly, I felt a strange panic. What if I didn't want to understand what they wanted me to do? What if my Chinese was so bad that they put me in class with babies? I think I'll just stay in the car and go out with you," I said, trying not to let my panic show. "Don't be silly, Lucy," Mom said impatiently. "Go, you're going to be late." I stepped out of the car slowly and trudged up the steps into the main hall of the school. There were long lines of people extending from a row of tables. I found the table marked TZ and got in line. Ming Zi demanded, a sour-looking man when I reached the end of the line. Wu Mengshu, I answered, feeling pleased that I knew he was asking for my name. Unfortunately, it went downhill from there. He flipped through a stack of papers, pulled out one. He started asking me questions in rapid-fire Chinese. Some of the questions I understood, but I couldn't figure out how to answer in Chinese. Other questions, I only recognized some of the words, but not the whole question. I was drowning in a wave after wave of Chinese words and phrases. Should I fess up? Should I explain that I can't understand? I looked around for Mom, hoping she could explain. No Mom. He was starting to look kind of mad when I felt a hand gently grip my arm. What's the matter? I heard someone ask in Chinese. The man stopped looking mad and started explaining, smiling, and pointing down the hall. I turned to see who had saved me from certain doom. It was Talent Chang. Talent kept a grip of my arm until she had steered me clear of the registration table. Then she released my arm and wiped her hand on her pants. Ooh, how can you be so sweaty yet? She glanced at her watch. 10:07 in the morning. Basketball practice, I said. Even with her obnoxious comment, I was fairly certain that this was the happiest I'd ever been to see Talent, or ever would be. Yuck! Have you ever heard of a towel? Talent, of course, was dressed like Little Miss Junior Chinese School Administrator. She was wearing a blue and white striped Oxford and chinos, crisply ironed. I didn't know the coach was going to work us so hard today, I replied, feeling sheepish. Normally I would have had a snappier comeback. Have you ever heard of a t-shirt and jeans? But I was too much out of my element. Throngs of kids, all Chinese, were passing us, and they all seemed to know what they were doing. I, on the other hand, was at the mercy of Talent Chang. Listen. Talent was walking at the brisk pace, and I was jogging slightly to keep up. My calves ached, reminding me that I had already had my workout today. They want you to go and meet with Professor Powell, so she can assess you and figure out what classroom is best for you. We've got to hurry, though, because she's getting really backed up over there, and you're going to miss out on the whole first day if you don't get in line soon. Okay. I was surprised by how much Talent cared. I thought she had been trying to get me to go to Chinese school just so she could show off. She finally stopped at the classroom door. There were 4 people standing in line. Inside, I could see a plump older woman with glasses sitting on the one side of the desk. This is it, Talent announced crisply. Talent spun around and headed back to the main hall. Good luck, she said. Thanks, I said. She. Talent looked back and gave me a look of approval. Somehow, Talent's know-it-all attitude didn't seem horrible here. In fact, here it was kind of worked. My interview with Professor Powell went better than I thought it would. I managed to carry on a very brief conversation in Chinese regarding the color of my shoes and the weather. My problem was that I couldn't always think of the word I wanted to use when I wanted to use it. I didn't recognize the characters for the numbers 1, 2, and 3. Well, okay, to be fair, the characters for 1, 2, and 3 are in a horizontal line, 2 horizontal lines, and 3 horizontal lines. Professor Powell handed me a slip of paper with a room number on it. Your accent isn't bad. You should work on vocabulary and idioms, she said sternly. Practice. I nodded and took the slip of paper. Room 303. I needed to find out the stairwell and go up 2 flights. The clock in the cafeteria said it was 10:45. Another hour and 15 minutes of Chinese school. How was I going to survive? My steps slowly to a crawl. Eventually, I couldn't delay any longer and found room 303. I opened the door without knocking. The desks had been rearranged in a circle, and everyone was laughing and talking. A woman dressed in a gold jacket and burgundy skirt stood up and walked out. "Hello! What is your name?" "Wo Shi Jing Lao Shi," she said cheerfully. Her English was slowed by her accent and effort to pronounce the words properly. I also noticed that instead of calling herself Miss or Mrs. Jing, she used the title of teacher, Lao Shi. "Wu Jiao Wu Mengshu," I mumbled, surprised by how friendly she was. "Welcome, Mengshu. I'm also glad you are my student. Come sit. We are acting out stories to Chinese idioms." She led me over to one group, 2 girls and 1 boy. They all turned and stared at me. "Hey," I said. "This is Wu Mengshu," said the teacher, putting one arm around me, squeezing. "Please include her in your group," she grinned. "Be nice. She's the newest student in class." She giggled like crazy at her own joke. "Here," said the boy, handing me a sheet of paper. "We're acting out the story of Dong Shi Chi Su." In my mind, I had planned to use the Amelia Halpern strategy in a large group, while the teacher was calling on me. Now the plan seemed less certain. "I don't know this phrase," I said in my best wooden Amelia voice. "Then hurry up and read the sheet," said the taller of the 2 girls impatiently. "Come on, she's going to call on us in 20 minutes. I glanced down at the sheet. We were supposed to act out our version of Dong Shi Su, a Chinese phrase that means eating in the east and sleeping in the west. The original story was about a girl who had the choice between marrying 2 men. The guy who lived in the west was poor but handsome, and the guy who lived in the east was rich but ugly. People now use the phrase to describe someone who wants things both ways. Like the girl who wanted a good-looking boyfriend except when it came time to eat. Then she wanted the rich guy who could buy her a fancy meal. The 2 girls were arguing over who was going to play the girl, because neither one of them wanted to play a boy. The taller girl, Jessie, won out because she had a funny idea. "See, I'm going to put up my hand like this." She put up her hand like a traffic cop and swiveled her shoulders. "And say, 'Don't make me look at you. Just pass the lobster.'" I started to laugh, but then she stopped as soon as I realized Jing Lao Shi was looking at me. No emotion, like Amelia, I reminded myself. I dropped my eyes and looked at the handout again. The other girl, Leanne, said she would be the boy from the west. "If I have to be the boy, I'm going to be a good-looking boy," she announced. Adam, the only boy in the group, said he didn't care if he played the rich but ugly guy. "I guess you can do a little intro, okay?" said Jessie to me. I made one last attempt at Ameliadom. "I don't want to," I said. Jessie looked exasperated. "I don't know what your problem is," she said heatedly, "and I don't care. I don't care that you don't want to. My parents have promised me a video phone if I get a good grade here, and you are not going to mess it up. If you keep me from getting my video phone..." "Jiang Zhongwen," Jing Lao Shi called over gently. "Speak Chinese." Yes, I thought. Please threaten me in Chinese. I practiced the intro. Once upon a time, in China, there was a girl with 2 boyfriends. One was ugly but rich. One was poor but handsome. I was a little nervous about some of the words, but Adam helped me out. "It's not hard, see?" he said. "Rich is Qian. You have money. Poor is Mei. You Quan. You have no money. Ugly is Hen Nan Kan. Difficult to look at." He made a weird noise, which I guess was his way of laughing. It sounded like a cross between a dying lawn-mower and a donkey. "Gah-ha! Gah-ha!" My whole act like Amelia plan was replaced by act like a terrified twit plan when it was time to perform. My voice trembled as I tried to keep track of the words I was supposed to use. When Jessie, Adam, and Leanne took over, I breathed a sigh of relief. I thought we did a pretty good job. Jing Lao Shi laughed when Jessie said her line, and no one else did anything funny with their story. For homework, Jing Lao Shi told us to study all of the idioms we had used and get used to using them in conversation. Then stood by the door and said goodbye, adding some encouragement or praise to each student. "You were so funny," she told Jessie. She told Adam he was so lucky to be in a group with 3 beautiful girls, and he blushed. When I passed her, I kept my eyes on the floor. "Hey, Wu Mengshu," she called, patting me on the shoulder. "Good job today. Don't be so shy, okay?" I glanced at her, out of the corner of my eye, and looked away. "Jian Jian," I said under my breath. "Goodbye." I walked out of the room and down the hall as fast as I could go without running. Where was Mom? How fast could I get out of here? I turned the corner a little and ran smack into Harrison Miller.